Hey, babe.
Hey, babe.
Where are we going?
We are off to a home inspection, which is one of the more interesting parts of our work.
The G-L-A.
Oh, yeah. Hit it, Fergie. The glamorous life. It is the glamorous, or not so glamorous part of our work. But a necessary part of our work, and we're always excited to go and discover what lies in store for our folks that are looking to buy a home. So yeah, we're super stoked about that. The other cool thing to note is the home we're actually going to go have inspected is the oldest house I've ever sold.
How old is it?
It was built in 1900. So that means it's 126-ish years old. I'm curious to know, maybe somebody put in the comments, what's the oldest house you ever sold? This is pretty exciting for us because this would be the oldest house we ever sold. And interestingly, the home was built, as you know, back in those times. Those things are built like bomb shelters, and so we're really excited to see what the results are of the inspection.
So, with a 126-year-old home, what are some of the things that we should be looking out for?
Well, it's pretty much, I guess, just like any other home. We're looking for structural integrity. We want to make sure that the home's not going to fall over. I think our clients would appreciate that. You're looking for the major systems that are to be in operating shape, to be functioning as intended. One of the things we often have to talk to our clients about is the idea that they're not buying a brand new home, and even if they were buying a brand new home, not always is everything going to be perfect. And in particular, with an 126-year-old home, it certainly won't be perfect. But yeah, so what we're looking for is the age and condition of the roof, the age and condition of the HVAC, which is the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. We're looking for the approximate age and condition of the plumbing and the electrical systems. We want to make sure that we don't see any structural cracking, whether it be a crawl space foundation or a slab foundation. We want to be on the lookout for anything on the interior that might lead us to believe that the foundation might be a little bit shaky. That's not to say that structural settling is very typical and very common, and so depending on the age of the home and depending on what sort of evidence we see of that, we'll be able to talk through that with the inspector and be able to help educate our clients on what to be on the lookout for. Other things we might look for are interesting odors. We want to make sure that nothing smells musty or moldy. We want to make sure that the place has been generally well taken care of. And the good news is by the time we get to this point, by the time we get under contract, we've done a lot of that work already. We've already kind of used 5 of the 6 of our senses. We definitely don't taste homes, but we'll look at them, we'll listen for creaks and cracks, we'll touch them, we'll smell around, we'll figure out what we can see, and then we'll make a very learned determination based upon our experience and be able to help them navigate even just getting involved in going under contract. But once we're under contract, those are the major things we're looking for.
So you might wonder, once we get the inspection report back, what's next? What are the options for our clients, and what are we doing to help our clients?
Cool. Yeah, so the way that we operate is once we get the inspection report back, what we'll do is we'll review the report independently so that we can kind of get our radar up to any of the things on the report that might need a little bit further investigating. And we'll also ask the client to take a quick look at their report to make sure that there's nothing on there that might raise any alarms. And of course, if there are those things, then we get together and we review the report page by page, line by line. And then the good news is what we'll discover is we can figure out the temperature of our client. Some things are less important to some people. As an example, caulking around bathtubs and kitchen sinks and faucets and those sorts of things seem to be one of those items that lots of folks feel like they can kind of DIY, and they're not really worried too much about that. And then, of course, there's other more major things that might show up as a result of an inspection report. And then we got to dig in a little bit further and then figure out what our options are. So once we've gone through the report and we've identified all of the things that concern our clients, and after we've talked through those concerns and whether we mitigate the concern with sharing with them, past experience or things that we've done to help, fix the problem, or if in fact their problems are things that we really need to address, there's a couple of ways that we can approach it. One way is we can get a quote for the work to be done. This is probably one of the more common things to do. And so what we have, based upon our team of experts that we rely on in our business to help our clients, we give them a report and they give us a quote back for all of the things that might need to be addressed in the home. And of course it's an estimate, and it's not a hard and fast quote, but simply an estimate of what it might cost to get these items fixed. And when we are armed with that quote, then what we can do, and what we usually recommend to do, is we usually try to get some sort of compensation or concessions back from the seller to help cover those costs. And you might say, well, why the heck would we do that? Why wouldn't we just have the seller fix it? Right? Mm-hmm. And so the answer is pretty simple, at least from our perspective. Sellers could fix the things that we want to address. However, what we have discovered is oftentimes what they consider a fix and what a client might consider a reasonable fix often are two different things. And what that usually leads to is a little bit of, a big word here, consternation between the buyer and the seller. And so what we rather do is we like to go ahead and get the quote estimated, and we like to try to negotiate on behalf of our buyer some sort of a seller credit or concession at closing, so that they, once closing takes place, can invite the contractor to come in and go ahead and perform the work, so that they can supervise the work firsthand, and so that they can make sure that the work is of the quality that they expect. And of course, then they have a frontline point of contact for follow-up or any sort of warranty that might exist. Now, that rule is not hard and fast, and of course there are circumstances that might cause us to maybe change that strategy a bit. But what we know is that oftentimes, most times, if we get under contract, we know with a fairly high level of certainty that there's not a whole lot really, really wrong with the home. We know that there's going to be some opportunities to improve the home or to get it up to a certain standard that a buyer wants, but that we usually can negotiate through those things. And so that's kind of how we handle that post-inspection, inspection report review, and request for some sort of remedy, whether it be having the seller complete the fixes or us recommending a concession or a credit at closing, so that the buyer can supervise and have the repairs done themselves.
We feel like that's a very reasonable approach, and that's how we get our clients through the inspection process.
Yeah, so listen, if you've got any questions about how this all works, I know that sometimes it feels like a really daunting thing to get involved in a home purchase or a home sale for that matter. And just know that you do not have to know everything, because we do. And we would be delighted to share our experience with you and show you the way and help you create a very, very rewarding experience throughout this process. And so if you got any questions or you'd like to talk through your particular circumstances, let us know. We would be delighted to help.